In this video, I'm going to show you how I propagate my grapes. These are muscat grapes. I think they are anyway, because this grapevine was here when I moved in. And because we've had such a dry, hot summer, big heat wave, and it grows on a brick wall, which is of course a thermal mass that creates its own warm microclimate and keeps this vine really nice and warm, then they have done really well this year. And I have bunches and bunches and bunches of grapes, more than I know what to do with. And I have excess growth, which I'm going to cut off to create cuttings with. So the first thing I do is I make a compost mix, and anybody who follows my channel knows what it is. It's 2 parts compost, good quality compost, with 1 part sharp sand. I mix it all together. If your compost is a bit rough and maybe homemade, then you might even want to sieve it. I use a homemade sieve for mine. And in case you're wondering, I've been using this recipe now for, it must be about 3 years when I sort of figured it out for myself, because I didn't want to keep buying expensive mediums to add to my compost. And I also knew that using the compost on its own wasn't good enough. It created a sort of a brick. And I didn't want to keep buying vermiculite, sort of these compost mixes. I just wanted to be able to make my own and have more control over it. And so that's why I use the sharp sand. And it's really good for the seeds, because obviously seedlings and cuttings have new baby roots, and they need drainage, because you don't want the seeds and the roots to rot off, whether it be seeds or cuttings. And also you want the soil to be open, so the sharp sand helps to keep the soil open so that those roots can easily trail through, because when they're new baby roots, they're going to be really fine. So I find this mix particularly works, and it's cheap, because sharp sand is a lot cheaper than all the fancy horticultural grits that are available out there. Then what I do is I water it, because I prefer to water it before I use it for cuttings and seedlings. When you're watering it, you don't want a runny mess. You actually just want like a sort of a stiff cake battery kind of a moisture level. You don't want it to be wringing wet with obvious pools of water in it. No, you can use a little plant pot to put your cuttings in, or you can use the bottom of the water bottle, and I'll show you both methods. And we're going to use the top of the water bottle as a cloche, because what we want to do is we want to keep the moisture in so that the roots and the stems don't dry out. If you are a complete beginner and you don't have any plant pots, you can just use the whole bottle, and we use the bottle half as the plant pot and the top half as the cloche, and I'll show you how to do that. What I do is I cut a little pleat in the top. I cut the whole bottle in half, and I cut a little pleat in the top so that it will easily just slot back inside the bottle. You will have to put drainage holes in the bottom of the bottle if you're using the bottle as a plant pot. It must have holes in the bottle to let the water drain out. But you can also just use the top part of the water bottle over an ordinary plant pot. That's certainly fine, but the cloche is important. It's just I find the bottle really easier than using like a sandwich bag or buying specifically a propagator, because they can be quite expensive, especially if you're planning on doing a lot of gardening. So this for me is the best solution. All right, and here's my pots. I'm going to use these soil pots, and then we're going to go and get some vine to propagate. Right, so here's the lovely grapevine, obviously with my lovely muscat grapes. So what you're looking for is new growth. So obviously the vine keeps growing even after it's set fruit. As you can see, the fruit goes all the way up my ivy, but you get these long trails here, like this one here, and it hasn't got any grapes on it. So this is actually perfect for taking cuttings from. And the nodes are nice and close together, which is good as well. And it's semi-soft, so it's not super green and soft, and it's not super hard and woody either. So this is going to be perfect. I'm going to take a couple of lengths of this kind of new growthy material, and then we're going to take it back to the potting bench and split it up into various cuttings. So when you're doing cuttings, what you want to think about is you want to think about the nodes. The nodes are really important in cutting, the nodes and the leaves, obviously. So you're looking at it, you want to have it the right way up. So make sure you are propagating it the way it was growing. So you need to know which way it is. So this was the bottom where I cut it off the mother plant here. So this leaf will be the top. We're going to cut it just below a leaf node and just above another leaf node. So the one at the bottom, you're going to cut below the leaf node, and the one at the top, you're going to cut above the leaf node. And that is because the one at the bottom is going to be where the roots come from. And then we're going to leave the one at the top because that's going to be the leaf. Obviously, that's going to be the bit that does the energy making and the photosynthesis. And then the roots will come out of the bottom node. And then you could just go along the length of material. So cut this off here because that's going to be the root. And then we cut just below, and that lumpy node is where it's going to root from. And then we go above the leaf, we keep the leaf on it, and that is where we're going to get energy for the plant. It's going to photosynthesize, and you just keep going up the stem like this, cutting it below the node and then above the node. And these are perfect sizes as well. If you find that the distance is too short, you can, of course, use 2 nodes on the bottom to make the lengths the same, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter for propagation purposes. And then before you know it, you have these kind of little baby plants that we're going to then use to grow new vines from. And because you're doing them from cuttings, you're propagating them from the mother plant from cuttings, the new plant will be the exact same variety as the plant you're already growing. You can have 1 or 2 sets of leaves, it's up to you, and you can even have 1 or 2 nodes that go in the soil. Don't stress it. Really, the plant just needs some leaves and some nodes for roots and some leaves for energy and photosynthesis. And so, of course, the nodes that you've trimmed will go into the soil, and the nodes where you've kept the leaves will be the bit that stays above the soil. And it's really as simple as that. And of course, it makes no difference whether you're pushing it into the soil in a plant pot or in the bottom of your water bottle. And then the top of the water bottle just goes over the top of the pot, and it pushes in to the sides, of the plant pot. And then you create this whole kind of like little microclimate that's nice and moist and humid, that's going to keep your cuttings nice and hydrated, because the enemy of propagating cuttings is drying out. And also the enemy can be too much liquid as well. You can rot them off. So it is a balance, and that's where the sharp sand really comes in handy. So if you are doing it in a bottle, I'll just quickly show you how to do that. And don't forget, if you are doing it in the bottle, as in this one, you do need to put drainage holes. It's so vitally important to remember that you have to poke holes in the bottom of the bottle. And that's for 2 reasons. 1, for drainage, and conversely also because we're going to bottom water these. So we need the holes in the bottom to suck up the water. And so as you can see, the bottle is just used in exactly the same way as the plant pot. And then we use the top of the bottle again to go over like a cloche. Once you've got all your cuttings sorted, then they actually won't need watering for a day or so. But what we are going to do is we're going to bottom water them. So as and when they need watering, we're going to water them in a tray at the bottom. And I'm just using these aluminium foil roasting trays because they're super cheap. And they fit 4 nicely in there, which is the 4 that I just sewed. And then you would just put like an inch, no, not even an inch, actually, about half an inch, maybe a centimetre of water, and then give it sort of half an hour. And if it sucks up all the water, that's fine. If it doesn't suck up all the water, tip out the excess, because you don't want your cuttings to sort of rot and get too soggy. But as you can see here, this is a little propagation unit I've got here, and I've got lots of cuttings growing, and you can see how the moisture steams up inside the bottles, and it keeps all these cuttings super moist, and they're all rooting really well. I've lost a couple to rot, as you could probably see in the foreground there, just when I was zooming past. But most of them are doing really well. I've got loads of new hydrangeas. As you can see, there's some good roots on there. I've got a lime tree that I'm growing. I've got some salvias. I've got clematis. I've got box. I've got some more hydrangeas. I've got holly. And now I've got my grapes. So hopefully I'm going to have at least 4 new grape plants, grapevines, by next year. So if you found that video helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your friends, and visit my website at www.jillbretherton.com. And I'll see you again in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.